Kfar Batya, a children's village in Israel, gleaming beneath the warming sun that floods the gently rolling soil of the plain of Sharon. Like Israel, retaining its pioneering spirit as it goes forward toward new goals, new achievements. Like Israel, thriving, growing, and still quite young. There were no trees here in 1947, the year the village was established. Nothing but barren, sandy soil. Like Israel itself, this village waited to be born again, waited for the hands and spirit that would reclaim it. There were no buildings here, no children. In 1947, the children who would be the first to live here waited behind barbed wire in British detention camps on the island of Cyprus, waited in displaced persons camps in war-scarred Europe. Waited, hoping for a new life that would begin in this new place. This was the first synagogue building to be erected in a children's village in Israel, the Goldie Krashauer Synagogue, dedicated in 1954. Rededicated for a special reason in October of the year 1965. In its rededication, there is a symbol of man's will to survive, a symbol for all people who cherish the treasures of the human spirit. This is a story about a synagogue in a children's village in Israel, yet something more. A story of the 450 young people who live and work and study in this village and who worship in this synagogue, yet something more. The synagogue and the young people who use it are a living link between the past and the future of the Jewish people. Within these walls, these sunlit modern walls, no older than the youngest children in the village, there is a priceless treasure of the past, sent to Israel in 1965 from the Netherlands. A memory of a time now gone. There is a memory of yesterday in the young people of Kfar Batya too. For all are immigrants, or the children of immigrants. They have come together in this little piece of Israel from more than 40 countries in every part of the world. They study, they work, they play, they learn to live together. For these children, most of the day-by-day life in the workshops of the village points towards the future. A preparation under careful guidance. A preparation for useful lives. The skills to be learned are varied. The technologies are many. Yet everything in these classrooms points toward building. Everything learned points toward life and the days to come. For the young people at Kfar Batya, work and study are a series of anticipations. Anticipation of joining in the building of a new and young society. Anticipation of being part of a developing nation. The thrust each day is toward tomorrow and the skills of a changing, exciting world. They are part of a voyage into the future, a future in which their vocational and scientific skills, acquired here, will join the mainstream of progress in Israel and the world. Yet, in each young person, guided carefully, thoughtfully toward the future, there is a memory of the past, a silent memory. A memory of Morocco, where life was confined to the narrow alleys of the Mellah, the Jewish ghetto. A memory of Tunis, where most Jews lived in wretched poverty, uncertain of their daily bread. A memory of Hungary, where revolution and counter-revolution made life itself uncertain. A memory of Iraq, where persecution narrowed the opportunities for any truly constructive life. In each one, a silent memory. Of school doors slammed in the faces of the talented, of universities barred to Jewish students. A silent memory, unspoken, yet residing deeply within the intricate organism which is a human being. And within these walls of the village synagogue, another memory, expressed in beauty, able to be seen. A memory of the glory and the tragedy of the once flourishing Jewish community of Holland. For these objects once adorned a centuries-old house of worship in northern Holland, the synagogue of Leeuwarden. The eternal light, the light of unbroken faith and dedication. The tablets of the law, the 10 Commandments. The bima, the platform used for the reading of the law. The ark of the law itself, proclaiming in the ancient language the unity and oneness of the Creator. All stand here, as once they stood in the synagogue of Leeuwarden. Each object is a mute witness to the love with which a congregation built its house of prayer as a place of beauty. These crowns adorned the scrolls of the synagogue. From these scrolls, the devout Jews of Leeuwarden read each week the words of the Bible, the heart and foundation of their faith. From this chair, which will never be used again, the rabbis of Leeuwarden looked out upon a secure and joyous congregation. Secure until the Nazi terror flooded across Holland. Among the 3 rabbis of Leeuwarden who perished in the death camps was Rabbi Shimon Dasberg, a brother of Mr. Nathan Dasberg, an educator at the children's village, who is instrumental in the transfer of the Leeuwarden treasures to Israel.
There are deep personal meanings for me in the transfer of the Leeuwarden Synagogue and its interior to Kfar Batja in Israel. But beyond these emotions, there is a symbolism for Israel in this reconstruction. Leeuwarden was a community which was renowned for its scholarship in Holland and between the Jews of Holland. We continue that scholarship here. I think that is the important word, continue. Those of us who came here from Holland know also that it is a miracle that the synagogue was spared destruction. A miracle for which we and the generations to come are thankful. Grateful beyond words. And here in this children's village, the memory of the Jews of the Netherlands and of Leeuwarden will be cherished forever.
The first Jews to settle in Holland established themselves in Amsterdam about the year 1597. They had come from Spain and Portugal, seeking the more tolerant atmosphere of enlightened Holland. In the picturesque Jewish quarter, the artist Rembrandt lived and worked, producing masterpieces, many on Bible themes. Here, Jewish thought, philosophy, and learning grew. The Jews of Amsterdam, unhampered by anti-Semitism, participated in every aspect of Dutch life. In its origin, the Amsterdam Jewish community was of the Spanish or Sephardic Jewish tradition. But it was in Leeuwarden, in the north of Holland, in 1645, that the Jews of the Central European or Ashkenazi tradition founded their first community in the Netherlands. Leeuwarden, virtually unknown outside of Holland, a modern city but still retaining a feeling of its medieval past. By 1700, the number of Jews in Leeuwarden who had migrated from Germany and Poland was considerable. In 1755, the first synagogue was erected. And in this street, in 1805, the community built this synagogue, which has now been closed except for one small chapel. In Leeuwarden, as in all of Holland, the Jewish community prospered and flourished, sharing in and contributing to a liberal, tolerant, growing Dutch society. Until May of 1940, when the nightmare of Hitlerism descended on the Jews of Leeuwarden. In the minute books of the congregation, there is caution bred by terror and the courage to go on. Ode to the cleaning woman, 10 guilders. 3 board members have gone abroad.
I was not in Leeuwarden at that time, but all over Holland, as the darkness descended, the Jewish congregation struggled to preserve not only their lives, but the symbolic object of our faith. For 200 years, these articles had been accumulated with deep devotion. In the final days, this chandelier was hidden beneath the floor of the Leeuwarder Synagoge.
Many other objects were hidden. It is not known yet if all have been recovered. Some may still be secreted here, survivors of the years. But it is known with a grim certainty what happened to those who worshipped here. In July 1942, this building, once a Jewish theater in Amsterdam, became a deportation center. It is now a memorial to that time of terror. Of the 120,000 Jews of Holland, 12,000 survived.
Mahalo
pillars, standing now in memory of all the fathers, all the mothers, all the children. All that remains is memory. The memory of those tortured, slaughtered, murdered. Among them, the Jews of Leeuwarden.
Some of them who survived were able eventually to come here as I did. The greatest number had perished. But the scrolls of Leeuwarden were safe, preserved by the courage of the people of Holland.
4 centuries ago, this building was the residence of the governor of Friesland. In modern times, it became the provincial branch of the National Library of Holland, a storehouse for official archives. In 1943, at the height of the Nazi occupation, August Corre, in charge of these archives, unwound 3 of the Torah scrolls of Leeuwarden and hid the holy parchment with the archives of a famous university town, the town of Franeker. In this shelf, 3 of the 6 scrolls now in Kfar Batya survived the war years. For those years, they were a part of the archives of Holland.
It makes me proud of my countrymen in Holland when I think of their courage to be found hiding the Jewish scrolls, the most sacred object of our faith, was a crime punishable by deportation and eventually death. Yet the people of Friesland, the simple as well as the educated, united to preserve the books of Moses.
The landscape of Friesland has a storybook quality. In the fertile countryside under the broad and open sky, the people live a remote and pastoral life. Yet it was here in a town called Berlikum, some 8 miles from Leeuwarden, that 3 of the scrolls survived. Late in 1942, following the largest deportation of Jews from Leeuwarden, the minister of the church of Berlikum traveled this road, carrying the scrolls with him. The minister hid them first in a church, protecting them as long as he could. When he himself came under Nazi suspicion and had to flee, he gave the precious scrolls to a parishioner named Bindert Bosma. In this farmhouse, a center of resistance, Bosma was hiding members of the underground. Here, too, the sacred scrolls of the law were safeguarded, protected from harm in this typical Dutch farmhouse bed, a bed with doors to keep out the northern dampness and cold. Then, one day, the Nazi soldiers came, searching for people. The refugees in hiding escaped through this trapdoor in the attic. The heels of Nazi boots trampled the scrolls inside the bed, but the scrolls were not discovered. On the day of liberation, in his tiny town of Berlikum, there was a celebration and a parade, a celebration of victory and of deliverance. Through these streets of this town in which no Jew had ever lived, where a proudly nationalistic community chooses to speak Frisian in preference to Dutch. Through these streets, the citizens of Berlikum paraded the Sifrei Torah, the scrolls of the Jewish law, the symbol of the Jewish vision, justice and peace. Here on the main street of their town, in this storefront where all could see, they placed with reverence the scrolls of Leeuwarden. The symbol of Jewish ethics had become their symbol too. The symbol of their freedom. For Bindert Bosma, there is a lively recollection of that moment and the years in which he risked his life to safeguard the Jewish scrolls. In token of their gratitude, the few Jewish survivors of Leeuwarden presented him with a miniature scroll expressive of their feelings. Expressive also of the feelings of Jews throughout the world toward those courageous men and women who, through unbelievable darkness, affirmed the unity of all human beings. A unity affirmed and reaffirmed each day in this synagogue, the synagogue of Leeuwarden, reborn in Israel. Reborn in the fullest sense, reborn as a house of prayer, a house of study, reborn as a witness to the indestructibility of faith. Within this synagogue in the modern land of Israel, the ancient tradition is born anew. Here those who perished are remembered, remembered eternally and each day. Each day the children of the book affirm and reaffirm the oneness of mankind, each day affirming the unity of Israel, the uniqueness of each human being, the common bond of brotherhood. A congregation expressing in every act of prayer the continuity of a faith and of a people. A continuity carried forward in the scrolls of the law, survivors as the young people are survivors. The scrolls of the law, conveying a wisdom and a confidence in life, reaching backwards in time to the roots of civilized man's morality. A law of goodness, passed from generation to generation, a living law of kindness and the understanding heart, given not for one nation, but for all nations. A legacy to be preserved, to be understood, to be heard. By these words, a people has lived and a people has survived. By these words, in this same land, a people first saw life not as an endless series of disasters, but as a journey toward a better world. In each one, there is a silent memory. A memory of yesterday, a promise of tomorrow, a promise of productive life. In each one today, the seeds of a time to come in which man's inventiveness will be used as a guiding instrument on the paths of peace. The promise is alive in each one, in every laboratory, in every classroom. The promise of a land fulfilling its potential for human service, of a land rearing its children for service to the human family. This reborn synagogue in a reborn land, growing through the will of a reborn people, is unique in man's history. A symbol of man's hope. It is a tree of life to them that grasp it, and of them that uphold it, every one is rendered happy. The children of Israel live. The scrolls of Leeuwarden live.